The Centers for Disease Control says roughly 80,000 people died from the flu and flu-related complications last year, the deadliest since 1976. Of that total, at least 181 children lost their lives from the disease, and the CDC says that roughly 80% of those deaths occurred in children who had not been vaccinated. Joining us now, leading spine surgeon and founder of the online health newsletter Thrive, Dr. Dave Campbell, and NBC News medical contributor, Dr. Natalie Azar. Good to have you both. Dr. Dave, I'll start with you. Who should be immunized against the flu and why?
Mika, good morning. Everybody that's 6 months old or older needs to be immunized this year, and we need to look back to last year to understand why. Children are at great risk, and of that 80% that were not immunized, many of those children were uninsured. So there are plenty of free programs through the federal government, including Medicaid, and uninsured children who can access flu immunizations. We encourage everyone 6 months and older to be immunized.
So, Natalie Azar, looking at the numbers of children, especially last year, what happened, and could that have been prevented if they got flu shots?
Well, look, I mean, unfortunately, as we know very well, the flu shot does not offer 100% protection. In a good year, it's 40 to 60%. The problem is that the manufacturing of a flu vaccine is a very imperfect process. The virus mutates during the manufacturing process. It mutates again when it's circulating. So unfortunately, we can't always predict if that's going to happen. The statistics are a little bit striking, however, that 80% of the children who died were not vaccinated, but roughly half of those who also died were healthy. And that's a completely different conversation as to why that can happen. But it's safe to say that the flu shot does prevent the flu in a certain percentage of people. We're hoping for 40 to 60% effectiveness, but we also know that it can decrease the severity of the illness and particularly prevent hospitalization from pneumonia, which can be deadly.
Okay, so question for both of you. Dr. Dave, starting first, as to why we're focusing on this, why we're doing this segment. Put these numbers, these deaths that we saw last year, into context for us historically. What are we edging toward here?
There's a few things to consider. First, it's the 100-year anniversary of the Spanish flu, 1918. And 500,000 Americans died, perhaps 100 million worldwide. That was during World War I. Far less people died in that war than of the flu. Then we go up to 2009, when we had another pandemic, again with the H1N1 virus, which was devastating worldwide. And here we are with the worst year yet in the last 40 years, last year in the United States. So we all have to pay attention to the reality that these flus are rather unpredictable. And like Dr. Azar said, they change throughout the flu season also. So we don't really know if this is going to be a good flu season or a bad one like last year. We should all prepare, and we should prepare those that we love, those that we're around, and we should use simple preventive measures also. Hand washing, staying home if you're sick.
Right. And Dr. Azar, add to that the historical context, but also the flu shot may not be a sure thing, but it can do a lot, right?
It can do a lot. And I think to Dr. Campbell's point, you might want to think of it as a civic responsibility. A lot of young, healthy people say, you know what, I've never had the flu shot, I've never had the flu, there's no reason for me to get it. But if you think about it more broadly from a public health perspective, you protect one less case of flu in a healthy person could lessen the transmission to people who are more vulnerable. That's the elderly, people with chronic conditions, and certainly children under the age of 6 months. And in particular, vulnerable group, of course, is women who are pregnant. We just had a study out yesterday that showed that the flu shot prevents hospitalization in 40%.
Doctors Dave Campbell and Natalie Azar, thank you both for being on the show this morning.